Hello, everybody. Greetings. Renee Box Young with you all. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time you'll be listening to this stream. Uh, Greetings to everybody. Salutations. Salute from the South. One love. As always, thank you for liking, subscribing to Renee Box Young. Today is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to really talk about boxing because, I want to give my honor. This is my way of giving honor. There's some. Oh my gosh. My bad. So yeah, this is I remember pushing another live video some time ago, rest in peace to the passing of it was like my way of honoring legendary Kobe Bryant, his daughter, those who passed away. I did a live on that too. So, things that hit my heart, I got to speak out on it, you know what I mean? So we're going to dedicate this live, to what's going on with George Floyd's case, the ramifications, the results, the things that we're seeing that's going on around the world. That's not just in the United States. I mean, this has impacted the world. So, I mean, this is just crazy, at the same time amazing to, as regards to this case. Rest in peace to George Floyd. And I wanted to talk about it. Honorable guest with honorable guest Kurtis Anderson. It's an honor always to hear from him because he has an amazing boxing knowledge, the historian, also known as the historian, real intelligent man, and for me, it's an honor to have him. Kurtis Anderson, how's it going, man?
Hey, Renee Box Young, man. Good to be on your platform. You have a very good channel. Thanks for the kind words. I'm doing great, man. I really am.
Right on, brother. Let's get right to it, man. Let's just get right to this. As you guys all see, those who are coming in or those who will come in later, in the thumbnail, George Floyd, I can't breathe movement, I guess we can call it, right? Protesters using that saying, that sad phrase that George Floyd said while he was slowly dying, man. I mean, it is what it is, man. While he was slowly dying. I mean, it's just it hurts, man. So we see the results, what's going on, from, I guess you can say, from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. Protesters, daily, we're seeing something new daily. This is daily. Recently, I just saw, I think last night, yesterday, what have you, a shootout with cops, people getting, injured, which is the bad side, the negative side of all this protesting. We know that not all protesters are doing negative things. I mean, there are many, if I'm not mistaken, more peaceful protesters. They outweigh the negative protesters, I guess you can say, right? There's lots of negativity also in these protests, with certain minority groups, I guess you can say, just, buildings being ransacked, businesses being destroyed, cop, police patrol officers, patrol units, cars being destroyed, flipped over, people getting injured. I repeat, it's just crazy, man. But at the same time, we're seeing something awesome. You got celebrities, if I'm not mistaken, recently Jamie Foxx. He came out, he's speaking against this. LL Cool J, lots of people, Teofimo Lopez. I mean, a lot of people, and the celebrity athletes also, in the limelight. They're speaking out against this. I mean, the ramifications, the ripple effect is going global. It's worldwide. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, in New Zealand, they were doing protests. In Australia also. It's just all over, man. So we're seeing, I mean, we're living in times that I would never imagine, also amidst this whole COVID-19, also quarantine, people threw quarantine out the window for George Floyd. Rest in peace. Now, what is your take, brother Kurtis? I mean, first and foremost, go ahead and just speak your heart, man. What do you feel, with all this that happened to George Floyd? What was your first reaction? And what did you think was going to happen as a result of all this? Or did you think that, just another death, quote unquote, or swept under the rug, ignored, which shouldn't be ignored, which is not being ignored? But what was your first reaction to all this stuff, man, that happened to George Floyd? Rest in peace.
Well, I'm going to say I'm shocked that there's many races has joined in the fight. Whites, Hispanics, and Asians. I've seen a little bit of everybody. America can be a great country, but you have a systemic casting system, racism, that always plagued America. My father taught me very well. America was built on capitalism and racism, white supremacy, and the police were the first slave catchers. This thing is nothing new. Ever since I was small, there was an incident. Eleanor Bumpers was an elderly black woman in New York, and she was shot because she was short $14. The commotion got out of hand, and 16-year-old Philip Purnell. I mean, on and on. I was living in Paterson, New Jersey. There was a Puerto Rican guy that I knew named Victor. I'm not going to say his last name. He was face down and got shot in the back of the head, and the cops said it was an accident. So you see this on and on and on again, and people, they just got tired of it. Now I'm shocked that this riot it has grown so many legs, around the world. I just thought it'd be another death. First, it was Aubrey, and he was jogging, and guys who wasn't police, he was a former police, shot like an animal. And then you have Breonna Taylor. You can't even stay in your own house. She was shot down. That not only they shooting men, they shooting babies. Tamir Rice, who was 12 years old, and women, Sandra Bland. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And my father said, with this country, you're going to learn a valuable lesson. And, you being a black man, non-white, you're going to face an uphill battle, and, I don't agree with the looting and everything in businesses, because you have criminals mixed in, and, this is a great way to loot and get what you want. This happened in 1977. We had a major blackout in New York City, and there was looting all night and fires, and there was just anarchy all over the place. But America brought this on itself, because they try so hard to keep everybody down. If you're black or brown or yellow, it's a system that's been perpetuated for hundreds of years, and people had enough. They didn't think it was going to be this bad, where all people joined together, and it becomes very dangerous. Cops were shot, run over by cars, and people getting beaten, and fires all over the place, and moms and pops' business destroyed. I mean, it's like somebody in New York was playing the movie The Purge. How creepy is that? Coming out, blaring out of speakers.
Wow.
And that's what it looked like. So Renee, it's very troubling to see my country in such disarray. But when you have people being beaten and murdered for hundreds of years, what the hell do you think is going to happen? There always been riots, in this country ever since the Boston Tea Party and the Jamestown floods. They was mostly white, but it's very sad and troubling to see. We just want justice as a people, and we're not getting it. I mean, to see him, they literally squeezed the life out of George Floyd's body. I mean, he called a grown man, and he wasn't a small guy, calling for his mother, because he
Yeah.
was in desperate need. He was in desperate measures. He felt himself dying. He said, I'm not going to make it that much longer,
Right.
and I can go deep about, because not only I study boxing, but I study white supremacy. I read books, Hitler, My Kef, meaning my struggle.
Yeah.
Tom Metzger was a white supremacy, and him and his son, white supremacist, excuse me, in Idaho. You had Robert Matthews, called the Turner Diary. So I like to study people ideologies,
Right.
and I know the dominant society who runs this country. This country was found out violence and money and race. These are England forefathers. White Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Now, white is something else. The Irish and the Italians wouldn't always accept it, but now they are. But that's neither here or there. But my point being that it's something that's ingrained inside them that keep other people down. They don't want us to race mix. They want to murder as many as possible. White supremacy has infiltrated law enforcement, and there's a system, the jury, the district attorney. It goes from the bottom to the top. And I have this book called Breaking the Ranks. Is a former white police captain who spilled all the beans. He was a police captain in Seattle and San Diego, and he said that white officers use code words like describe a black subject, NH, not human, or
Mm.
certain things like that. So it's always been ingrained in United States of America.
My gosh, that's exactly why I wanted to have you so we can talk about these things because you can hear me, right? You can hear me, all good?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Yeah. So that's exactly why I want to have you on because historically, you know a lot about these topics and in general. I knew you knew about all these things. That's why I want to have you on. Um, when I was growing up, I wasn't really exposed to racism. I felt it, I seen it, I heard it. I was sometimes, said things, offensive things, told offensive things by other people, back in the day. And I remember where I grew up, at least back in the 90s, late 80s, mid to late 80s, early 90s. I remember there were lots of, there were quite a bit of white supremacist groups, teenagers, teens to adulthood, fighting constantly in the streets against, Latins, against, blacks. There would be constant fights, there were white priders, skinheads, whatever you want to call them, you know what I mean? And, like you said, historically, and that's the era like I grew up in, but I haven't really seen it, like get too violent. I mean, fist fights, obviously generation after generation, guns are a little bit, guns are a lot more, not a little bit, a lot more accessible for youngsters nowadays on the streets. Before it was more like, fist fighting and things like that. Yes, there were guns here and there, but, that was common to see it. But now it's gotten to the point, like you said, I mean, and it's been throughout history in America, racism has been, it's been there for so long. And now it's gotten to this. Now, this is what I kind of want to get at is that I think personally, like you said, you just touched upon something. I mentioned it in my last video, a video I did recently, about this issue. That I questioned this in the video. It's like what do we expect to happen? This has been going on so long. It's like a soda bottle. It's like a 2 liter Coke. You buy a 2 liter Coke and it shakes up, and it's that pressure's building and building, and you open it, bah, it just blows. I mean, what do we expect, of so many incidences of racism, like you explained right now? One incident comes to mind that is really, really, I guess you could say, iconic, or that is really remembered. It was Rodney King, right? With Rodney King, I mean, that was another incident where it just now, Rodney King, back in 91, if I'm not mistaken, he got pulled over after a high speed chase or something like that. I was young, I was a kid. And police came out. It was all video recorded. He got jumped in a brutal fashion. Months after, I think it was just a few months trial, and these cops got acquitted or something like that. And then these riots, man, if oh my gosh, it was in L.A., South Central L.A. or something. Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm sure you remember that, Kurtis. And man, riots, people, about 50 people died. It was just insanity. And now we're seeing a repetition. I said this in my last video that, about this issue that history repeats itself. History repeats itself. It's happening again. Maybe we're not hearing that many people dying, but who knows where this is going to lead to. Real quick. Um, Kurtis, I remember my first video I pushed out concerning Ahmaud Arbery's case. Rest in peace. I pushed out a video on that, and I explained in that video. I said this was right after this Arbery incident happened, like the same day or the next day. I said this might trigger a race war or something. And I even mentioned, I even went to my Twitter tweet that I put, and I put it in that video, that I said something along the lines of this may trigger a civil war or some kind of war or something. internal unrest, civil unrest. I don't remember how I said it, but I explained that real quick in a tweet and a post of Arbery's case. And not necessarily that incident triggered what we're seeing now, but it was Mr. George Floyd's incident. So you just kind of feel it in the air. I'm down here in Mexico, man, but you can just feel it that something had to give. And now we see it with Mr. George, George Floyd's incident. This was the incident where it just boom, it just exploded. Now, like you said, man, I think one of the things that really outraged people, one, is what you just explained right now. People are fed up with so many cases, all those names, and much more. Like you said, the list goes on and on of so many cases. There's just too much, man. Unfortunately, there are way too much. That's one. I think that's one reason, right? A main reason to why we're seeing this just outburst of what's going on. And another reason I think is that what you were just saying a moment ago is the graphic, slow, how can I say, asphyxiation, taking the life away from George Floyd, and recorded. When people saw that, and like you just said a moment ago, man, he was crying out for his mom. I mean, that dude. I teared up when I saw, man. I teared up. I teared up when I just teared up, man. I was like, when I saw this incident, I was like, my God, because I was thinking of me there, man. I was thinking, what would I do if I was in that situation? I would be doing the same thing, man. I would be, man, for someone to cry out for their mom, man. That just shows you the suffering. I mean, it's super. It's just there are no words to say how sad this is. And I think that is why we're seeing such an outbreak in the world. The world, Kurtis. This is not just the States, right? This is dude. Other countries are protesting, filled. These streets are filled with people protesting, which I think, wow, look at the impact this is having, man. Look at the impact and outcry against unjust, things that happen like this, tragic events. Now, Kurtis, I want to ask you something, bro. Stormy, man, salute, brother. Salute, brother. Thank you so much for tuning in, man. Thank you so much. Brother Kurtis, what do you think? How do you think this case is going to be? I mean, maybe, I don't know if about law and things like that, but do you think this cop is going to be made an example in the justice system? Or are they going to, do you think they're going to slap him on the wrist, give him a slap on the wrist and, manslaughter? Because this is the thing that happens, man. Let me say something. I'm not an expert in law. I haven't studied law, but I do know a little bit about law. Many times we always see it like this, right? Cases of murder cases. Many times murderers, people who have killed somebody. Obviously, many cases are very complex. All cases are complex. All cases have their errors, whatever, right? Or their advantages for the victim and or for the suspect, right? The person accused. But, many times we have seen where murderers or people who have murdered get away with manslaughter. Now, this murder was recorded. There's nothing to really escape from there's nothing that you can say against what was recorded and how this murderer killed George Floyd. I mean, there's nothing you can really say against it because obviously there's going to be an investigation, what happened before. Supposedly, which was proven wrong also, Mr. George Floyd was resisting arrest and getting violent, which a video, if I'm not mistaken, shows he wasn't resisting arrest. He was not violent at all. And then they're supposed to have those cop cams, right? So do you think, Kurtis, that this man, what's his name? I don't even know. Is it Chauvin, right?
Derek
Derek.
Chauvin.
Yeah, thank you. Derek Chauvin. Do you think Derek Chauvin is going to get, justice really served to him? I personally think, I don't know, man. I know it's controversial and things like that, but I personally think he should get the death sentence. I personally think that because of the cruelty of the crime, man. I mean, I personally think that. I'm not saying I'm pro death sentence. I don't know, but this case, I mean, I understand now. I mean, it's controversial. I don't want to get into this topic, but I personally think he should get like the maximum sentence, man, because it was a really cruel, one of the cruelest ways you can kill somebody. I mean, he was torturing him, man. I mean, this is torture. A lot of people aren't using this word. A lot of people aren't even. I haven't even heard this word being used in this case, but I think it was torture. Being having strang being he was like he was strangled to death, man. That's a form of torture. Getting the air, the life force sucked out of you. My gosh, man. I mean, so brother, do you think he's gonna be made an example? In the justice, be made an example of? Is that that's what I'm trying to say? You think he will get, or do you think he will maybe get a slap on the wrist, or what do you think may happen here?
It can go either way. I wouldn't be surprised if he does time. If he doesn't do time, it's going to get worse. So they might make an example out of him. It's caught on cameras. It's clear as day. Like Walter Scott was murdered in South Carolina. They couldn't let that cop go. They couldn't let him go, so they made an example out of him. It was murder, clear and present danger. And with Chauvin, it seemed like he was posing when he had his knee, on Floyd's neck. And personally, I think all of these cops or it's a coordinated attack.
Yep.
Because, like I said, they infiltrated because it happens one after the other. Then it dies down. Then it picks back up. So I noticed that it's a pattern. But they can't afford to let him go. It's no way. He should have been charged with first degree murder instead of third degree murder and manslaughter. If the sentence is light, there's going to be problems in the street, just like the L.A. riots. He's going to have to do some time, man. And that's the only thing to slow this thing down because it might get a lot worse. You might have some people go out there and start killing cops. I done seen this before where cops was murdered. You had the Black Liberation Army of the early '70s with Joanna Chesimard. She's in Cuba, and the United States been trying to get her for years. That happened on the New Jersey Turnpike in '71, '72. I was really young. My father was talking about it. They was execute cops. And then you had a black and white militia group in the University of Michigan called the Weather Underground. They was blowing up government buildings and they was executing cops. I mean, how much can one race take?
Yeah.
So they better, I'm telling you, for United States sake, they better lock them up for a while to make an example out of them because they can't afford anything else worse because it could be a lot worse than what it is. You can have people who are armed to the teeth,
Yep.
especially in the South, just go on shooting sprees. Can you imagine a coordinated shooting spree across America? I wouldn't want that. But like my father said, the problems the problems of many out no the needs of many outweigh the problems of the few. And when you have injustice, it has a weird way of coming back and biting you on the tail, like they say the chickens come home to roost. America. It's a system. It's designed for cops to harass and murder minorities, especially black people first. It's a caste system. It's systemic racism. Everything is set up for the cops to be off. But with the cell phones and the cameras and people recording everything, it makes it harder for them to get away. They've gotten away with so much through the 50s, the 60s, cops killing
Yep.
black people like it's nothing, man. And the Bull Connors and the George Wallaces, staunch racist, overtly racist people, and I always said, is this I know racism is taught in everything, but it just seems like it's ingrained in their DNA, man. It's like they have to be racist, but the system is set up for them not to fail to the point where if they didn't do anything to anybody, they would still win. But they want to dominate. See, that's the operative word, dominate. They want to crush, kill, and destroy. They don't want race mixing because they don't want, then it becomes a point of genetics. They want to keep it white and they want to dominate. I mean, I lived in an all white town in 1978 called Sharon, Pennsylvania. All white town, literally white town. I don't know how it is now, but see, that's what they fear. The Latin explosion and population and blacks and other groups coming in is becoming very non-white, and that's what they fear. So that's why Donald Trump would talk about immigration. See, once something comes significant, that's what they go after, and they don't want you to get too comfortable. The dominant society, so they use the police force as a military force to keep you in line.
Mm, Oh, now speaking of this, the National Guard, right? National Guard is on the streets with Trump right now. I don't really want to get into the political issue, but I mean, this is politics. I mean, politics it's ingrained in this. Like you're saying, this is politics. I mean, it's ingrained in all this, so we cannot escape that. But what I'm trying to say is that Trump. Okay, now this is what I think, and I said it in my last videos, okay, about this issue, that I personally think, like you said a moment ago, if justice is really not, if it's really not served as it should be in this case with this killer Derek Chauvin. I call him killer. I even said in my last video, I don't even want to call him a cop. He's not a cop anymore technically, but I don't even want to. I call him a kill. He's a murderer with the badge. He's a murderer with a former, he had a badge or whatever. So if he doesn't get, okay, like you said a moment ago, I wouldn't be surprised if he got a slap on the wrist or whatever. If he does, like you said, man, I think personally all hell is going to break loose. I'm not the type of person to speak things into existence, but I do use logic and coherence, and I use the historical pattern that we have been seeing throughout the years, what you have been explaining to a T. And I remember in my personal case, which is quite tangible in my personal lifetime, is the Rodney King incident. So I would not, if this guy gets a slap on the wrist, there's going to be, I mean, gosh. And now the reason why I say this about Trump and stuff, the way that things are right now, it doesn't look like they're starting with curfews. They're starting with curfews, okay? Okay, a certain time curfew, everybody in their houses. Nobody can be on the streets. National Guard is on the streets now. This is like the first step. I personally think if these riots, I don't even want to call it, they're not protests. I'm talking about the riot part, right? Because the protests, the peaceful protesters, it's the majority, if I'm not mistaken. But there are a remnant of riots and rioters who are destroying things. So I mean, that's. I personally think if this continues and the transition of this whole trial, who knows how long it's going to be, the trial of this man, the killer. But I think there might be a possible martial law or executive order. Now, if I'm not mistaken, these curfews are a type of executive order already. Now, if this continues, there might be full-blown executive order, man, or martial law, man. What is martial law? I don't know exactly to the fullest term, but definition. But what I understand of martial law being is full military force against the American people. I mean, that's how I understand martial law. I mean, it's incrementing more and more. Do you think? Well, you guys, I say we because I feel we're a community. So do you think we'll get to that, Kurtis, to seeing something like that? Martial law, full-blown executive order, military against the American people if this continues?
Absolutely, there will be martial law. I mean, things is out of control. You know, there's been seven empires in human society.
Yeah.
America being the last, and the pillars are breaking, meaning America is being destroyed inside out. Because they're trying to keep a system that works for them, and it's falling apart. And they would do anything. They would do anything to fight for it. You would see, certain whites, kneel and but you also have militia groups. You have Ku Klux Klan and neo-Nazi groups, and things might get out of hand, man. And you're gonna see martial law. You're gonna have curfews. That's happening already. Something's gonna happen. Maybe not in our lifetime where there's going to be like war in the streets, man. I mean, you're going to have civilians with military style weapons because it's so easy to get.
Yep.
And I told you about the Weather Underground. That was a militia group, and they had explosives. And then you gotta think about this right here. When America is so busy fighting its own, You have terrorist sleeper cells that's in America already,
Ah,
just
that's
laying low.
mm,
And that's a perfect time to strike because those people never forgot what America did to them in the Middle East. They have a death wish. They hate America,
man.
and you're gonna see sleeper cells pop up all over the place. And I'm gonna tell you, Renee, when the World Trade Center went down, I never seen the dominant society, so broken up. It seemed like the aura of invincibility was gone. They was crying and they couldn't take it. America's not equipped to handle all of this at one time. It's not that kind of country. Regardless, people give America props of being a superpower. They're not equipped to handle this. They're not. So if you have a militia group, that's against the police and they're shooting police down and the military come in and that's fighting in the streets of America, it's going to go to hell. It really is. And you got the coronavirus. It's just sign of the times. 2020 is not like the 60s because now you got young black kids who don't care, who got guns and they don't care. People in general have AR-15 weapons. They don't care. In the South you can get a gun like it's nothing, like a piece of candy. So if you have coordinated attacks killing cops. One cop was shot in Las Vegas and killed, and a couple other cops were shot in St. Louis. You had a cop in New York run over, and those are isolated incidents. But imagine there were purposely coordinated attacks on police officers, where the people and all people deem the police the enemy. So you have to think about that. They really don't know what they're getting their hands into. They're so arrogant and cocky that they feel that they can kill black people on camera and get away with it because the system is rigged for them to get off, just like the LA cops did. And it's terrible. But what they're doing and they don't know is that they're killing their own country from the inside out.
My gosh, man. I didn't even think, it hasn't even crossed my mind of what you talked about a moment ago of sleeper cells. That's what it's called, right? Sleeper cells?
Yes, they just lay in wait. They're dangerous because they're very patient. And with all this going on, man, is a major distraction, man. And we all know they don't play. And it's you don't want that, but it can happen. Everything is happening all at one time. And you know what? God don't like ugly.
I remember what you just said, man. This is so important to talk about. Like I said, I mean, the ripple effect. This can just, I mean, this is gonna, there's so much potential of many more things happening right now. Things are at the brink right now. And what you mentioned just now about this, about sleeper cells, about okay, now because this is, a lot of people forgot about it. I mean, the thing here is that I always say that. I feel like I repeat myself so much saying about a lot of people forgot about it because we are in a world, in a digital era where information is so rampant. Information is so bombarding by the day, by the second, by the minute of anything we want to know. Social media, right? Everything we want to know, we're being bombarded by everything and anything through information in the information era, digital era that we are living in. Okay, the reason why I say this is because yesterday's news is old today because today we just get a bombardment of everything of everywhere in the world through media, okay, through digital technology and things like that. So a lot of people forgot about that Trump mandated or whatever a drone that killed a prominent, if I'm not mistaken, Islamic leader and government official. I don't remember where in the Middle East. This happened a few months ago. And a lot of people, I mean, were like, "Whoa, what are you doing, Trump? He had I guess he mandated or something like that through a drone, and they blasted this man to smithereens, man. And check this out. Um, the Arab community, or I'm sorry, the Islamic community, that extremists, I guess you can call them. They lifted a flag. They lifted a flag up, okay, in the Middle East. I can put the link in the description after all this. I mean, I saw that video. I was investigating that when that happened. They lifted up a flag and it was a red flag. And if I'm not mistaken, that red flag signifies revenge. And now watch this. In their group, that's what it signifies. So now shortly after that, watch. I forgot what the guy's name was who got blown away, man. I mean, wow. It created so much commotion amongst the Islamic community and these extremist groups. I'm not saying that the Islamic community. I'm not saying all of them are extremists. No, just a certain sector of them, obviously. Now, one of I think it was a government official, a political lead, or something like that. Sorry about the dogs in the background. My dogs are out there in the yard barking away. But he was interviewed by media. I don't know what media, but he was interviewed. Okay, it was like some military guy, and they were talking about what happened, the person they killed, that the U.S. killed, what have you, and he said, and that he was asked something along these lines. So what do you guys think about doing, about this? What do you think about, what are you going to do, as a reaction? Are you going to respond, or what's going to happen? And he said, you know what? And this is something that chills me, man, brings chills, because it's exactly what you're saying. Exactly what you're saying. He said this. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. I don't know word by word what he said, but he said, we are patient. Oh my gosh. He said, we're not going to execute revenge emotionally. We're patient. We're gonna wait for the right time, dude. He said, I mean, I'll leave the link in the description. I'll go find it. I don't know how, where, but I'll find it. I'll find it quick. And I'll leave the link in the description for you guys after the live. I mean, he said something along those lines, like that they're patient and they're gonna wait for the right time. Now, and what you're saying right now, this can be a time where they can do something, man. I hope to God not. I pray not, right? But anything can pop off right now. Anything can pop off, and it hurts me, man. It hurts me to see this. It hurts me to see, like I said, I grew up over there, man. My heart's over there. You know what I'm saying? It hurts me to see all this happening, and more. There's just so much ramifications that can happen. We're talking about martial law. We're talking about executive order. Now, getting back to that, if executive order, if this case, if this guy is not sentenced as he should be real quick before I get to that. Okay, before I get to that, because there's several points I want to talk about, man. So we'll go back to this. Okay, we'll go back to this point of the case. Okay, this man killed Mr. George Floyd. All right, the cop. He got arrested, convicted. He's being tried for third-degree murder, not first-degree, which I think is wrong. Right there, he's being tried for third-degree murder. The other cops, they're just. I mean, what's up with the other cop? I think personally they should be arrested. They should have been arrested and be accomplices for murder. I mean, they should be accused for being accomplices for murder. Don't you think?
Absolutely. They all had a hand in it. You're using your weight to compress another human being, and remember, it's not like a soft mattress, a concrete. So it's even it's like torture, like you said. That's a perfect way to describe it, Renee. They plain out murdered this man. They squeezed the life right out of him, like squeezing an orange to make orange juice or lemon to make lemonade. And he's calling for his mother. And him and the cop, they worked in the same place, and they know each other. A lot of people don't know that, and the owner said this. White lady, she said that Chauvin always been rude to black people. I mean, it's just another case of many. The hell that we went through in this country, man, is unreal. It's unbelievable. And to remain loyal and pay taxes and fight in world wars, man, we're loyal like some old hound dog, man. And the country don't give a hoot, nanny. I don't care if you're a criminal. I don't care if you're a drug dealer. I don't care if you're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. I don't care if you're a basketball player, a fighter. You're black. As soon as you come out your mother womb or stomach, you're deemed an undesirable criminal enemy of the city, the county, the state, and the country. Ever since D.W. Griffin's Birth of a Nation, when they showed like a beastly man supposed to have been a black man, subhuman, chasing a white woman, and like you see the Klan on horses, here I come to save the day. Those stereotypes always been perpetuated throughout hundreds of years. So it goes deeper. It all connects to one another. Then you have police officers, they can't hang blacks anymore, so they use the police force and the military to commit their crime. Police officers, gunning down children. The 12-year-old Tamir Rice was shot
Man,
and killed
wow.
because they figure they have a badge and a gun, they can do these things, and the arrogance that I can get away with it. But they didn't expect so many other races joining in,
Yeah.
and this thing has has gotten legs now throughout the world. New Zealand, a lily white town like New Zealand, or painting murals of George Floyd, and other countries, England, everywhere. It's more than sad. It's more than tragic. To say that is a major understatement. This thing been going on since I was a kid. I'm hearing about police brutality. My father taught me to walk, tread tread lightly. And towns being racist like Fair Lawn, New Jersey, and Clark, New Jersey. Those towns was infiltrated by the KKK. Man, I mean, I'm all around
Man,
this stuff. I'm all around this stuff.
my gosh, man. And now there's another thing here that before we get to this other topic, but it's related. It's totally related. Now I want people to. I think people have seen and heard, read, the news that has been coming out concerning, George Floyd's killer. What's his name? Derek Chauvin. Man, I don't know, dude. I don't even remember the guy's name. I just know he's a killer. That's all I know. I just look at it as dude. He's a killer, man. I mean, this killer. Okay, so what's his Derek Chauvin? Okay, Derek Chauvin. I think you guys have seen already. Those who are listening or who will tune in later, that Derek Chauvin, he's obviously in jail now. He is on suicide watch. Okay, he's on suicide watch. There must be a reason why he's on suicide watch. Okay, there's consequences. There are higher laws. There are unseen laws. Just like you said a moment ago about a dog biting its own tail, something along those lines. What goes around comes around. This guy now is suffering. Now he's on suicide watch. So I think he's going through depression. News obviously is getting to him that what he did. I mean, there are unprecedented consequences worldwide. What he did, and I know he knows this. I know he knows this, and news is getting to him. People are telling him there in the cell or what have you, whatever. That what he did, he is like an enemy of the world in general. I mean, I think he's seeing that, he's feeling it. It's giving him psychological turmoil, depression. He's on suicide watch, man. His also his wife his filed for divorce, man. His wife filed for divorce now. He lost his family, he lost his wife. He's on suicide watch. Interesting, isn't it? To see how life has its way of you know, giving us what we deserve. I mean, I guess I could say it like that, right? That he, from one day to the next, he's arrested. He's facing life in prison, which I think he should get the maximum, man. And he lost his wife now. His wife filing for divorce. Kids are gone. Everything. He's on suicide watch now. I do know a little bit about this as far as the jail system, prison system. When you're on suicide watch, you're isolated, man. You're isolated. You cannot leave your cell. Suicide watch is like kind of something along the lines of protective custody. Protective custody, PC, when people PC up, it just kind of reminds me of Tekashi 6 9, if I'm not mistaken. That hip hop guy, whatever. I don't listen to his music. I can care less about his music. But it's just an example for people who may know who that is or whatever. If I'm not mistaken, he was in PC too with his whole investigation when he was in jail, whatever, in prison, at federal prison or whatever. If I'm not mistaken, he was on PC. Celebrities, a lot of the time when they go to prison or what have you, are on PC, protective custody, or people who are rats, I guess you could say, right? People who do things or who are in jail for crimes that should not be committed. For example, child molesters, people who kill women or things along that nature. They go to PC, okay? Okay, generally speaking, they go to protective custody. Protective custody is a type of incarceration where they are. It's kind of like death row, man. They don't leave their cell. It's 23. It's like maximum security prison. 23 hours in your cell, 1 hour to go to the bathroom, take a shower, and things like that. So the reason I say this is because this man, okay, this man, what's his last name? Chauvin, Derek Chauvin. He is on suicide watch. He's not leaving his cell. His freedom was stripped from him, which should, like I said, man, he deserves a maximum. Now he's feeling, okay, he's at the lowest point of his life. His wife is leaving him, and things like that. He's paying the consequence. He's paying the consequence, but I still think he has to get the maximum. He has to get, because a lot of people are talking about this aspect of the story, right? And I guess I can say that I'm happy. I'm happy that this is happening. He's feeling the consequence of what he did, and he should get more, right? He should get the maximum. He should get the maximum sentence here. Now, before I go to the next point here, or actually just kind of introduce, okay, the next point. Ahmaud Arbery, okay? It seems like people forgot about this case because of what's happening now with this case with George Floyd. It's building up more, okay, with Ahmaud Arbery. These two killers are, they're in jail. They're gonna face their trial also. Now, what do you think about this case? That's why I say I want to go to another point, but it's related. Do you think? Okay, now the thing here is that the older guy, the dad, I forgot these guys' names. Mick something, George Mick something. Okay, the dad. It was a father and son who were participating in the in my. Oh wait, hold on. Let's see what's. Okay, just real quick. Let's get the comment real quick. Storm B man. To kill himself is not good enough. He needs to die by the hands of the people. Okay. Real quick before I get to Mr. Arbery's case. Interesting you say that. He needs to die by the hands of the people. The extremely prejudiced deserve. Okay. Yeah, like a death sentence, you mean, right? Death sentence. Yeah, execution, death row, man. I mean, that's what I said at the beginning of the show. I personally think you should get the death sentence, man. I mean, now the people, the hands of the people. I think this guy is on suicide watch. He is incarcerated. He won't be touched by the general population, but prison has its ways, man. I kind of think, Kurtis, before we get to the next topic, okay, I kind of think something's going to happen to this guy in prison, man. He's not in prison yet. He's in jail. Something, I don't know, dude. Maybe because prison, the general population know about this guy, about this cop, man, former cop, this killer, this guy, Chauvin. Inmates know about him now, man. Inmates know about him. Do you think there's a possibility something can happen to him by inmates, in the hands of inmates, man? Do you think so?
Oh, definitely, because they look at him as a trophy. That's how the jail world works. When somebody becomes very popular or infamous, Jeffrey Dahmer was beaten to death, the serial killer, by an inmate. John Gotti had fist fights with other inmates. You got a bullseye on your back just so they can get their name out there and say, yeah, I did that to Derek Chauvin. So I would not be surprised if something happened to him. They got to have him in PC 24 hours, or he's got to be watched, but let's see how much time he gets. This guy deserves to die, man. He's scum of the earth. I can tell and look at him, he's scum. Probably had ties to white supremacy. I wouldn't be surprised that too, but it's just the system. It's America. This is what America is all about. So when people who don't know America, I had many arguments with people from the Caribbean and Africa. They said the streets are paved with gold and everybody should be a millionaire. I was like, man, you don't know what the hell you talking about. Tell that to Amadou Diallo and Abner Louima, who got a plunger stuck up his rear end, and Diallo, who got shot 50 times. They were African, so I have to get on them. America eats its young. America is about bloodshed and money, capitalism. That's what America is all about. It always been a very violent, ultra violent country, movies and music, and it always been like that since day one. It was built on that. That's the premise of America. Riots, throughout history, and raping and looting of Native Americans, Black Wall Street. I remember I think you remember this case. I think in the 40s, where the Mexicans was fighting the Navy.
Yeah.
They would have fist fights, and there's a show called Penny Dreadful that a prominent white family was murdered, and they try to blame Mexicans. It comes on Sunday night. It's a very good show, City of Angels, and every race. Look what they have done to the Native Americans. They all alcoholics because of the trauma.
Wow.
They all alcoholics. Self hate. So what they do, psychologically, they attack you psychologically, and it's a everlasting effect. And that's what my people goes through, Black Americans, self-hating. And when you watch Django and the slaves fight each other, and those things trickle down. They've been dominating so long, that they feel they can get away with any and everything. And not all white people, because you got white people out there with the front lines. White lady had a sign saying Black genocide 1619 to 2020. So I'm shocked to see a lot of them out there in the front line. So I salute them.
Yeah.
And like I said, the Weather Underground was a militia group made up of blacks and whites, and Black Liberation Army. I mean, you hate violence, but that's what the country is all about. You got a certain race of people who don't understand nothing but violence. Well, Martin Luther King was a man of peace, and he had a hole in his head the size of a softball.
Man.
They didn't like them. Anything that goes against the grain, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, anything that goes against the grain they hate, they're gonna kill. That's the only thing they understand is, I'm a natural born killer. I have a history of killing, and I'm gonna keep killing until you stop me. Sometimes, man, you got to put a bullet in people. That's just the skinny.
My gosh, man. My gosh. Each country has its dirty secrets, right? Each country, third world countries, maybe it's a little bit more apparent, a lot more apparent, a lot more out in the open. Down here in Mexico, about a few years ago, and it's common. This is common down here, dude. This is common. What's going on over there in America is common down here, but in a different light with the cartels, man. I mean, I don't want to get too many details, but a few years ago, in this city right here where I live, cartels came because of some political issue. They took one of those cartel members to jail. They arrested one of them. The army cops down here, they don't even touch these guys. Okay, they're scared of them. Okay, so the army, navy, okay, the Marines, I get the Mexican Marines, they deal with the cartels, all right, and then not all of them. Okay, but like I said, I don't want to get into details, but this is what the reason why I say this is because I can relate to what I see in the States right now, what's going on, because here it's common, man. Like I said, about a few years ago, okay, the military took a cartel member to jail. Okay, so the cartel, man, they stood up, they got up, and they did what's going on over there, but in a negative light. It was no peaceful protesting. It was burning banks. It was getting buses. Now, the thing that's interesting, I mean, when the cartels do this, they respect the common citizen. They respect common citizens because they know, they're like, you know what, you guys, it's not about you guys, it's about us versus them. So they respect the common citizens. So what they do is that, they get the urban, the public transportation. They tell everyone to get off of the bus because they don't want to hurt innocent people. They're like, hey, get off the bus, out of here. And then they take that bus and put it to flames and close off the entrances of the cities. It's crazy, dude. So this happened years ago. The reason why I say this is because every country has its dirty secrets, right? Every country has its corruption. Every country. And that's what I say, like you said a moment ago. Sometimes people who think, immigrants, I see it here all over in Mexico where people, they think, oh, I'm going to go to the States, which is true. It's definitely true. And live the American dream. There are many examples. I mean, you got Ugas, right? Ugas, if I'm not mistaken, he's living the American dream. I think he came from where does Ugas come from? Cuba?
Cuba.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's living the American dream. He tweets it commonly, right? He's all, you know what? Anybody can make it, and I came from there, and I'm here, and I'm living the dream, and that's awesome. That's awesome. Arislandi Lada, he's another example. Ortiz, heavyweight Ortiz, he's another example. I mean, the list goes on. But a lot of people misinterpret saying successful stories like that down here, and they think, yeah, I'm going to go to the States, and they think it's so easy. And I tell them, you know what? I tell them, hey, you can make it down here too, because I see many successful people down here in Mexico, and I'm sure it's in a lot of third world countries. I see many. If you work hard, if you do your best, you know what I mean? There's corruption everywhere. And I tell them, I say, you know what? In the States, don't think that just because you cross the border, they're going to hand $1,000 to you, bro. I mean, it's not like that. You're going to struggle. And plus you're Mexican, right? Plus you're Latin. I mean, it's going to be even harder for you because it's not. And if you don't speak English, oh man, just forget it. Don't even try going over there, because people are going to, unfortunately, it's going to be more common than not. You're going to be looked down upon because you don't speak the, English. You're illegal. It's going to be even harder to get a job, so sometimes, things are misinterpreted. And look what's going on right now, unfortunately, in the States, man. It's just sad. It's heartbreaking, all these things that are going on right there, over there. I even saw, man, recent videos, people burning the American flag, man. Americans burning the American flag because they're so they have a lot of indignation for what you're just explaining right now, man. How the system, we have seen it time and time again. People are so fed up with what's going on. Real quick, bro, what do you think the outcome of all this is going to be? Let's try to. We're not psychics. We're not, right? I guess you could say prophets. I mean, we're just trying to use coherent logic and based off of history. Like I said, history repeats itself. So I mean, what do you think the outcome of all this is going to be, bro? I want to touch upon just real quick, Mr. Arbery, rest in peace. Also, just a little, throw something in there about it. But what do you think, bro, is going to be the outcome of all this? Or we might as well connect it now. Down the road, let's look down a year down the road, 2 years down the road, with these cases, with just these two cases, because these are the cases that are getting the most light right now, and have made the most impact, right? Mr. George Floyd and Mr. Ahmaud Arbery, rest in peace. What do you think is going to be the outcome of these two cases? And what do you think is going to be the outcome of all this protesting, man? All these riots, all this protesting. What is going to be the outcome? Do you think there's going to be a peaceful outcome in all this, man?
It all depends on the trial of Derek Chauvin. Now, this is going to slow down. They've been protesting for 7 days. It's going to slow down, but people are going to be watching that trial like it ain't nobody's business. Anything that's not satisfying to them, they're going back on the streets, and it's going to be even worse. Now, they might make an example out of them because they'll be like, hey, man, we can't afford to let this guy go. And they'll be like, he have a sentence that the public is satisfied, the family is satisfied, then things it's going to slow down. But people are on edge because if it happens again, and there's a good chance it's going to happen again, it's back onto the streets. And see, that's what they don't realize. Police, man, you're killing your own country by murdering its own citizens. They may have a different skin color than you, but you're murdering them, and your own people, whites, are out there fighting the police. I've seen a white guy hit a cop in the head with a garbage can in New York. See, they didn't expect that the white girls and college kids to be on the front lines, but you can't have injustices, man. And in a country like America that preaches democracy, America always been the biggest hypocrite in the world. It's the world's police. They police everybody. They go and take. They did it with Noriega. They did it with Saddam. Anything that they don't like, even if it's own thing. You talking about a country that killed its own president, assassinated John Wilkes Booth, assassinated Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy was assassinated. They don't care. They don't care. America is a murderous country that was, that lives by the gun and die by the gun.
Just like Tupac said, yeah, live by the gun, die by the gun, man. So yeah, like you said, it's a conditional. It's all if, exactly. It's if. Now you're totally right. So it won't be too long. Now everybody is gonna be like you said. Maybe it's gonna be calmed down. People get tired. Obviously, I don't think they're gonna be protesting for months and months. I mean, people get tired. We're human beings. People are gonna be like, yeah, let's calm down now. Things might calm down. But like you said, every little aspect is going to be under the microscope of Mr. George Floyd's case, of this guy Chauvin, right? Of Ahmaud Arbery's case also with those two killers. People are going to have these cases and investigations, man, under the microscope. And like you said, if there is any type of hint of a slap on the wrist as an outcome of these sentences, I think it's going to be a lot worse than what we're seeing right now. I think right now is kind of child's play, man, because there's really not many deaths. If I'm not mistaken, there's one death, if I'm not mistaken. I don't really know how many are now, because maybe there's going to be a statistic tomorrow. 4 deaths because of all these riots, and who knows, right? But from what I think it's alleged or reported, at least there's a death already, okay? If these guys get slaps on the wrist, or if there's an unjust sentence here, oh my gosh, I think what we're seeing now is child's play, man. I think what we're seeing right now is child's play. And I really hope for the best. I really, really, really hope for the best. Man, it's really hard to say what's going to happen tomorrow, but I really hope for the best, man. And so, man, we have an hour into this. I think we can close soon. What do you think, bro? Real quick too. Recently, there was a video that just came out. I covered a video on it. I posted a video on it. A Hispanic also got beat. He got beat, man. A Hispanic guy pulled over. A cop came, show me your hands, show me your hands. He opens the door, the cop. He just starts wailing on him, dude. The cop started wailing on this guy. That's another incident right there. I mean, there are so many, like you said. Thanks to these cameras and these phones, okay, we have a disadvantage. There's less privacy, but these kinds of cases are being recorded, and I think they're going to be. I think there's going to be a lot more now. I think there are going to be a lot more recordings from now on every time a person gets pulled over, especially if it's a black guy, Hispanic guy, or a woman, what have you, of a different race. I think those cameras are going to be flipped right on by these people, by these citizens. People who get pulled over, they're going to have their cameras right on, and they're going to be recording every little thing that a cop does. I'm not targeting all cops, no, but a lot of people, man, they don't trust cops anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because of these things. So what do you think, Kurtis, to kind of close? What do you think society can do right now to better this? I mean, what do you think I personally think, all races, in the United States, around the world, we should just unite. I know it's hard to say, and I don't think it's going to happen. Oh, it's so sad to say that, bro. It's so sad to say that, man. But I think personally that, these groups, races, and United States specifically targeting there, like you said, man, in these protests, white people are standing out, man. That's awesome. They're standing up. They have signs. They're in for the same cause. I think that's awesome. Hispanics also are joining in. I think that's the first step. To bringing unity in the communities, right? Bringing unity in the communities. What do you think is another step, bro? Or what's a step that America can take? Micro-focusing on America to make better communities, man, and to see, to put a stop to these kinds of things,
Yeah, they need to be stricter on the cops, man. But the system is so rigged for them, that I don't know if it's ever going to happen, man. You hear that, you got a couple of bad apples. No, you got a crate of bad apples, man. Like I said, things start changing when they infiltrated law enforcement. But you need people, when you go to the police academy, you need people who come from certain communities police that community. That's what the Jews do. And New York, people don't realize they got their own police squad. You know,
Mm,
the Jews, their own people police them. So you don't never hear anything, you know, but you got people who never came in your community policing you. They don't know you, the stereotypes and all that,
wow.
you know. And see, in the 70s when I was a kid growing up, the police used to walk the beat and play football with us. We knew him by first name, he knew us by first name, you
Mm,
know, but it's not like that anymore. Joe the cop, you know, we need another guy to play football in the street. Yeah, put his stick down and start throwing a football for a little while, and you know he'll buy the kids ice cream. That's how it was, Renee,
right,
back in the
right,
day.
right.
And I usually
Mm,
be, I used to want to be a cop, you know. Then I start hearing very slowly Eleanor Bumpers and Philip Purnell and on, and you know, two Mexicans got shot in Hayward, California last week, and you know, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Police lost their mind, but it's just that they're programmed to they're programmed and trained to cause this, you know, to escalate the situation. You can be calm, not say nothing, be in handcuffs, and they will find something to kick off and escalate the situation. So, because they have the advantages, they have the badge and they have the gun, and you're unarmed, you know, and and they could beat you half to death. You know, so they're gonna have to tear down the system and rebuild it. There's no other way from the inside out, man. But other than that, it'll die down, and then there'll be another death from a year from now, and then here we go again. You know, about an unarmed person being shot dead by the police. That black police officer from Somalia, Sanu, Minnesota, he accidentally shot a white woman from Australia. They gave him 12 years.
wow.
They gave him 12 years, quick. They prosecuted him quick. So I want to see what they do with Derek Chauvin.
My gosh, man. You're totally right. You're totally right. Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at, I didn't look at it like that, where cops, like, from the inside, it has to be changed, right? Not necessarily, I mean, these protests and all that, yes, it helps and it's amazing, you know. I'm talking about the peaceful protesters. But I haven't seen it. I haven't really looked at it or thought about it like that, where from the inside it has to be changed. You're totally right. And that's awesome how, you know, back in your day, you know, where you have seen cops, you know, they're part of the community, parts of the community, them, you know, as cops being part of the community in a positive way, right? And as you said a moment ago, that even inspires children to be a cop, be cops, be good cops. You know what I mean? Who help the community, you know, who really, as those patrol cops, you know, those banners say, they serve the community. I actually saw another video. I think it was today. A New York cop captain or whatever. He was holding hands with the protesters, man, and he said that, you know, he said, you know what, you know, he was part of the protesting, you know, and he said something about that along the lines. He said, you know what, we got to be against these riots, you know, we got to be a part of the community, you know, because these same rioters are destroying businesses that are giving people in the community jobs, you know. So like, kind of like what you're saying, right? Cops, you know, got to be part of the community, because putting cops in communities that cannot relate to the people in those communities, I think that's one of the things that causes these conflicts, right, between cops and you know, hurting innocent bystanders. Or I say innocent because it's innocent till proven guilty. So yeah, these innocent bystanders, you know, I think that's one of the problems too, that cops are being put in communities, you know, to patrol a community that cop can't relate to. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm,
Absolutely.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
here. Absolutely, Renee. That makes a big difference, man. You got a lily white cop, you know, that's in a predominantly Mexican community. You got a lily white cop who never been around black people, you know, and in a poor black neighborhood. See, it's easy to dump on poor minorities because you could be like, oh, they ain't nothing. They're
Right.
undesirables, and you just trying to make a living. The system and the cards are stacked up against you. You know, you hear people making it. They're successful minorities across the board, but the system is against you. and that's just the skinny, but you have to gut the system inside and out. But are the white supremacists going to allow that? Because even though there's white people on the front lines, you have a lot of racist people in America, man. I mean, you have groups,
Yeah.
you have prosecutors, judges. I mean, there's a movie called what is white supremacist? It's about a white supremacist. This is a great movie with Tom Berenger and Deborah Winger, Betrayed.
That's called
And you
Betrayed.
had, yeah, you got to see that movie.
Mhm.
That's a great movie. That she was undercover. I ain't gonna tell you about the movie. It's a great movie, and it goes all the way to the top. You had military men and congressmen, that was in neo-Nazi groups, man. So that's the most accurate white supremacist movie I've ever seen in my life. But just called
Wow.
Betrayed, So it's a great movie, and it was very real. You have farmers and but because see, white supremacy is held in high regard, is top priority. One of my favorite shows was Soprano, and when Tony Soprano was talking to his son, he said, "Remember something, you're white. That still means something."
Mm.
So he was telling his son that, like you got an advantage or whatever, a privilege.
Mm.
So it's their ideology is held in high regard, white supremacy.
Wow, man, and it's sad. It's super sad, man, to know that this still goes on, man. We're in 2020. A lot of people think, oh, we're in a more sophisticated era, and well, sometimes it doesn't look like that, right? I guess we say it's more sophisticated just because of the technological advances that we're seeing and stuff like that, and I guess quote unquote better universities and higher education, right? But at the same time, you see these kinds of things and these atrocities that go on, sometimes I think we should be better people by now, by now. But it looks like it's just history is repeating itself, just in a different mask, And like you said, what you said a moment ago, just moments ago about and throughout this live, that we saw it in the conquering of America, man. We saw it in the conquering of America, how Indians, Native Americans, their land was taken from them, man. If I'm not mistaken, as far as the American roots, right? Their land was taken from them. And that's why, if I'm not right now, correct me if I'm wrong, we're in 2020, but back in my day when I used to live over there, I knew of native Indian reservations. If I'm not mistaken, Indian reservations, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you know more about this, I'm sure you do. Native American Indian reservations are there as the American government saying, "Hey, we stole land from you. Sorry, here's some of your land, you guys." And that's kind of like a deal, I guess, or kind of uh, America saying, "Hey, sorry, man, here's your land." But originally, it's because America stole all of the land from them, right? Something along those lines, right?
That is correct. America, what they did, they got them drunk so they could sign over their land on paper. So it became official.
Oh,
And they used to put chicken pox in blankets so they became sick. That's why today they're alcoholics to 2020, because it almost became hereditary with Native Americans, man. They used to get them drunk on liquor. They used to make trades. We'll give you wine and liquor and stuff. And when they was drunk, they used to make them sign over their land. So that's
whoa,
true. They gave them casinos because a lot of Indians own casinos, but they're like really like you don't see a mob of them, man. I'm not being funny. It's like one or two at the most. It's like they're like wiped out. It's a
right.
very strange feeling. They keep to themselves on their reservation, man. But sadly to say, a lot of them the coronavirus had hit them really, really hard in New Mexico. I was reading about that. It's very sad that they're dying every day, man. It's just that fortunately for blacks, we were more resilient
Oh,
and
okay, okay.
other races, I'm telling you, man, the game of billiards, pool, is very strange because the objective is knock every color ball in the pocket. And what's the last ball that's on the table is the
Oh,
white
right,
ball.
right, right, right.
My father always told me that. And like Malcolm X said, the game in faces has changed, but the game remains the same. The name and faces has changed, but the game remains the same. And that's what Malcolm X said. They not giving up white supremacy. They will fight you to the death. They can't afford for Mexicans to be in power, blacks to be in power. Nobody, if it's not white, it ain't right.
Man, wow, 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 wow. I hate to say that we're gonna close on that, right? Because it sounds like so. I mean, that's reality smacks us in the face sometimes, But I really hope, man. I hope this turns out for the better. These cases, and we'll just see what happens tomorrow, right? We'll see. We'll see what time tells, and it is what it is, man. Just to close off real quick, I keep saying we're gonna close out, but I love hearing you, man. I mean, there's so much to talk about. Floyd Mayweather, right? He's gonna be paying for George Floyd's funerals, plural. No, funeral. I guess we can say. I don't know how to call it, reception or something, right? Homages to Mr. George Floyd's passing. You know where those are going to be taking place, bro? Is it going to be one of it is going to be in Minneapolis? I think George Floyd Mayweather is going to pay for the funeral costs, but if I'm not mistaken, they're going to be more like homage ceremonies in other cities, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I think he's from Houston, Texas, originally. I'm not sure, but
Yeah,
he's
I
probably
think
paid for the.
yeah, something
Yeah,
along those lines. And check this out. This makes it even more sad, dude, that he moved. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. George Floyd moved to Minneapolis to like have a new start, right?
yep. You're not safe anywhere, man. I don't care if you
Wow.
comply or don't comply. You could, like I said, you could sit there with a muzzle on your face, man. They will escalate the situation because they're at an advantage, man. So I just hope things get better, man. But without peace, there can be no justice.
Yeah.
Without justice, there can be no peace. Excuse me.
Hmm.
But it always been like that. I'm just, we've been through this hundreds of years, man.
My gosh, my gosh. So I think it's cool that a lot of people are standing up for this, and I'm a small channel, got a small channel, small platform, but I'm just doing the best I can. Being here in Mexico, what I'm saying, trying to do my part, to get this word out, to get this positive word out as far as why positive, to unite and to fight for the right causes, and this is a definite cause that we should fight for and speak out, man. We got to speak out, and let's just hope that the generations that come, the youth learn about this and also fight, stand up like Martin Luther King, stand up like Malcolm X, stand up like the people who are standing up now. You got celebrities, like I say, I repeat, athletes who are standing up and speaking out, so let's hope, man. Let's just hope things get better. And we're going to keep a close eye on these cases. We're going to keep a close eye on what's going on, So we'll just see, man. Stay safe out there, brother Kurtis Anderson. Thank you so much again. Those who aren't tuning in, thank you for tuning in later. Share, like, subscribe, share this video, and spread the word, man. Spread the word. Thank you so much again, Kurtis. Any last words, bro?
Yeah, real quick, man. You got a great mind, man. I love talking boxing or politics or anything, man. It's we got a good chemistry, and thank you for inviting me, man. And stay safe out there. Be safe. Think before you move, and thanks for having me.
Definitely, brother. And the next live, Lord willing, we're going to talk boxing. We're going to get back to boxing. Definitely, bro. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And those who are going to tune in, thank you so much. Renee Box Young. Salute from the South. We out. Peace, family. One love.